Welcome to the MRS Bulletin Society News. My name is Xaimara Santiago-Maldonado, and today I am very pleased to be talking to Dr. Nerissa Draeger, Director of Global University Engagement at Lam Research, a leading semiconductor equipment company. Her work focuses on enabling innovative solutions for semiconductor fabrication through external collaborations and the establishment of academic partnerships that foster diversity within Lam's technology and talent pipelines. Furthermore, Dr. Draeger is part of the MRS Board of Directors. Nerissa, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Xaimara. It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me too. Nerissa, could you share with us today about Lam's Open Innovation Program and your role as Director of Global University Engagement?
Yes, I am part of the Strategy and Innovation team in our Office of the CTO here at Lam. And our team's purpose is to enable Lam to innovate faster and better. I often describe our role as creating and supporting the innovation infrastructure of the company. And some of these programs support internal innovation and R&D, but open innovation means working with partners outside of Lam. I have a colleague who leads a tech scouting program, which is co-development activities with startups and small business around new technologies. And my role in open innovation is leading our university research engagements. And this includes activities like university research collaborations with faculty and students. It may be industry-sponsored capstone programs. It could be participation in academic research consortia, inviting professors to speak at our internal seminar series, and also hosting joint university and technical symposia. We'd like to say that as many smart people as we have inside Lam, there are even more good ideas outside of the company. And as the complexity of our products and our customers' technology increases, it's even more important for us to connect with those external ideas. So what really excites me about my job is getting to connect these different people and ideas and to create opportunities to advance technology for our industry. These are opportunities for our global technical employees to innovate on new ideas. It's opportunities for professors and students at universities to better understand some of the industry's challenges, and opportunities for Lam to solve our customers' needs faster. And I'm a materials engineer by training. Throughout my career in the semiconductor industry, I've always supported the development of new materials and products and processes. I started as a hands-on process engineer working in the clean room. And in the current role that I have now, I get to do this development by creating opportunities for other people. And it's particularly satisfying, a great feeling to get to help other people see their innovative ideas realized.
So Nerissa, how would you describe the impact that diversity, equity, and inclusion have on innovation at Lam?
We truly believe that diverse perspectives create more innovative ideas. And there are a lot of studies that back that up now. They have shown that more diverse companies develop more new products, they generate higher revenue. So we believe that our company will be more successful if our employees are more diverse. And by diversity, we don't just mean gender or racial or cultural background. We mean employees that have diverse experiences, diverse sets of skills, different backgrounds, and different perspectives, because all of those bring different ways of thought, different ways of conducting experimentation and designing new products and processes to the company. So it makes the company more well-rounded. But that's the kind of addressing the diversity part of the impact. On inclusion, I'd like to say the ideas that stay in employees' heads are a missing resource. So we need to support both diversity and inclusion. If people don't feel valued, respected, and fully included in the future of the company, then they're less likely to share those ideas. So we need to create safe spaces and a sense of belonging so that we're addressing both the D and the I part of this.
So we agree on the importance of diversity at this type of companies. Can you share with us now how creating diversity at Lam's technology and talent pipelines is accomplished?
Yes, that's a good question. It's created by a number of actions that are backed by our company's culture and core values. But there's a couple of examples I'd like to share that I've personally been involved with. My first example is about increasing the diversity of the talent pipeline. Lam has partnered with an organization called the National GEM Consortium, which provides graduate fellowships to underrepresented students in STEM fields for them to pursue a master's or a PhD. It's a great organization whose staff are really passionate about supporting students, and Lam's CEO even served as chair of their board recently. This program, and there's others like it as well, help increase the diversity of students who are earning advanced degrees in STEM. And hopefully some of those students consider Lam as a good career path when they finally graduate. So that's kind of tackling, one aspect of making sure that this talent pipeline has a number of diverse students that are able to access these advanced degrees and fields of interest to semiconductor industry and other high-tech industries. I run an annual request for proposals program called Unlock Ideas that goes out to our employees. It's an internal call to solicit their innovative ideas around emerging technologies. The proposals need to be written in collaboration with a university faculty, and winning proposals are provided funding by Lam for the professor to test feasibility of the idea. We get proposals from employees in our offices around the world in partnership with a diverse group of universities. So we're essentially crowdsourcing from our own technical community on these new ideas, and they're helping us to build an even larger network of collaborators.
Okay, that's right. Just to make sure I'm understanding it right. The employees are not necessarily part of the collaborations outside the Lam's Research, right?
They are. The people that submit the ideas are the ones that get to lead the project. It's a request for proposals, so they submit the proposals, which are written in collaboration with university faculty, to a committee that reviews them all, and it's a blind review to help eliminate biases among the selection process. And if then the proposal is selected, the university receives the funding, but it's done with the input from the liaison and Lam who submitted the original proposal. So it's a way for our employees who maybe they don't have an R&D focused job in the company. Maybe they are working closely with our customers on current products and processes to think about emerging technologies and how they might be of value to the company. Maybe they're thinking about their own sphere of work and what it might look like, 3 generations down the technology roadmap, and to get to start collaborations to investigate some of these early ideas and test feasibility.
Okay, now I understand. And I think that is very interesting. I think it's also very refreshing because for me, from a perspective of a PhD student, we sometimes think that maybe working for a company in a position that is not research and development related might be like the end for our creative part of like designing and thinking about research and wanting to develop new projects and see them through completion. So I think it is very refreshing to think about, to see a company like this take into consideration the ideas of their employees and actually give them funding and the opportunity to contribute to the company and keep contributing to research, even though they are not still in a research-based position.
Yes, and we have a number of great R&D groups within the company, but soliciting ideas from others in all kinds of roles also helps us identify maybe where there's areas that could use further development, or there's challenges that we haven't really considered yet, because we get some very interesting submissions every year. And they also help alert us to where there's new trends from faculty that they may be reaching out to about these collaborations. We've certainly seen in recent years that proposals that are addressing environmental sustainability are becoming much more frequent. And this are sustainability aspects to maybe our current products or subsystems that are parts of our equipment.
Okay. And does it work the other way around? Like someone at a research-based institution might be interested in something that Lam is doing or wanted to get funding for their research. Can they also submit proposals in a similar manner to this?
No, the call definitely goes out to our employees. So they're the ones responsible for submitting the proposal, because they best understand how new technologies might be relevant to Lam. But, absolutely, we want faculty who are interested in what Lam does and have research programs that are aligned with our business to reach out to us. And the best way for graduate students and professors to do that is to get to know somebody at Lam. Our global workforce attends a number of conferences every year, like the MRS meetings. So when people see somebody from Lam, reach out to them, speak to them at the conferences. Most of the times we're very happy to talk about, in a pre-competitive way, what our challenges are or where we're looking for academic research projects. And then that could build potentially to a proposal to the Unlock Ideas program in future years.
Very interesting. I think this is definitely the definition of networking. Like going to the conference, meeting someone, sharing new ideas, and maybe you have this great idea that you might need funding to, and then you can get in touch with someone at Lam and develop your research proposal and see that project through. I think that's very interesting.
There's a number of ways in which innovation can be conducted, let me say, top down in a company. Vice presidents, directors determine what's important for the future of our products and technologies, and they prioritize, where projects need to be and what teams need to be working on. But the advantages of this program and many of our other innovation programs is they're grounds up. And that it's the individual engineers in some role in the company that are tasked with, think about what's next, what needs to come down the pipeline, and what would you propose that we do about it? So, between these kind of ground up ideas that percolate from individuals and top down programs that are prioritized based on industry needs and customer voices, it's kind of two ways to address innovation that gives everybody in the company an opportunity to participate and have their voice heard.
From your experience at Lam, what would you say are the main challenges associated with creating a more diverse environment at a company like this, and which measures can be taken to overcome those challenges?
Lam's Vice President of Strategy and Innovation, my manager, has said that you can't be what you can't see. So it's important that we have diversity at all levels of management and leadership. And that's certainly something that Lam is working on. I wouldn't say that we're leading the semiconductor industry in that, but it's something that we're looking at very carefully and considering ways to increase the diversity from beginning engineering levels all the way up to the C-suites. Because having those visible role models shows everybody in the company that those career paths are open to all employees. On measures to take to address that, I definitely think that in any endeavor, whether it's a technical project or a business objective, defining and reporting metrics are an important first step in accountability. So we report the diversity of our workforce in Lam's annual environmental, social, and governance report, known as the ESG report. And these are common among many companies. So we report that every year, the changes in the bars we've set, the goals and the actions we're taking. We compare ourselves against other companies in the industry and peers to seek to reach the high bars. I don't think that we're particularly unique in the approaches that we take to change these statistics. We have a mentorship program for employees inside to the company. We have training courses on identifying and breaking unconscious biases. We have leadership development programs that are open to all. But these are fairly common ways to move the needle on DEI within large organizations.
As a member of the MRS Board of Directors, what can the MRS do to increase opportunities for members of different backgrounds and regions?
I think MRS is very accomplished in convening people and their ideas. So if the society continues to be purposeful about addressing inclusion, then I think we can be not only representative of the scientific community, but hopefully even influence greater diversity in newer generations. I'm relatively new to the board. This is my first year on the board of directors. And I thought about this when I was writing my candidate statement for the elections. And there's a couple of actions that MRS is taking now and things we can do in the future to further support diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'd like to highlight a couple of those. One, I think it is important, is providing a variety of ways for members to participate in MRS programs. The pandemic has made virtual communication platforms ubiquitous. And there's certainly some downsides to virtual events. Virtual meeting fatigue is real. But one of the great benefits is that people don't have to physically travel to be able to learn from or share with others. Since about 50% of MRS members are located outside of the US, that means a large part of our community is spread around the world. And virtual meeting participation is not just going to be limited to those who have the funding or the ability to travel to in-person meetings. So this really democratizes seminars and discussions to a great degree. I mean, certainly the spring and fall meetings are a highlight of MRS, and those are going to continue to be a rich in-person experience. Nobody wants to see those go away. But I think combining those experiences with a variety of virtual meeting experiences and seminars and webinars on both technical topics and career development throughout the year is important for the future of this society and meeting needs of members across different geographic regions. And the board is discussing ways to ensure that being a member provides benefits on a larger scale beyond just attendance at the large meetings. Another thing that I'd like to comment on is MRS's efforts on working to create a welcoming space for all of its members and for all of the members to feel valued as part of the society. And that's going to be a space where everybody can share the research, where they can network with each other and advance the scientific field while being their whole self. MRS has recently introduced the special interest groups, and that includes groups centered around researchers of color, LGBTQ+, women in material science and engineering, and others. And these are intended to be communities within MRS where members can discuss and advocate for what's important to them. This could be highlighting role models within MRS or advocating for human rights. But I want to make a call to the people that are listening to this and the audience. MRS is a member and volunteer-driven society. So your participation is important, both in identifying what is important to you and what you'd like to see as part of MRS, but also taking part in realizing this vision. So, I would encourage people to look for these events, both events that are scheduled with the in-person meetings, let's say the fall meeting that's coming up in Boston, or other activities that are going to be virtual throughout the year. So look for those and sign up to participate in a group that's meaningful to you.
How have your experiences at Lam Research shaped your unique perspective as part of the MRS Board of Directors? And how can this be valuable to have the MRS achieve more diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, my experience as a materials engineer in the semiconductor industry has certainly shaped how I look for new technologies, how I partner with people across the industry and throughout academia. In the role I have now as Director of Global University Engagements, I've overseen hundreds of university collaborations across 5 continents with the goal to translate this academic research into commercial impact. And I've also learned how to catalyze new ideas, how to nurture their development, and how to build a community of innovation champions. These are all experiences that are valuable to companies like Lam, but they're also valuable to the growth of the MRS community, and I'm very honored to be serving on the board. What I challenged myself to accomplish in taking this role is to better understand member needs, to build global engagement, and to contribute to the society's strategic vision. And diversity, equity, and inclusion are a strong part of that vision. And I believe that MRS can take a central role in making materials science more relevant for everyone by amplifying all of its members' voices.
Nerissa, thank you so much for taking the time today to share with me some of your work and your experiences in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, my name is Xaimara Santiago-Maldonado for the MRS Bulletin. For more news, please visit the MRS Bulletin website at mrsbulletin.org, and you can also follow us on Twitter at MRS Bulletin. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.